Well, good morning, everyone. One good thing that's been a result of the COVID-19 shutdown has been that our entire family in our Lee household, we've been able to eat dinner together pretty well every night of the week. And one thing that we, or at least I, really enjoy is at the end of every meal, we usually have a big platter of fruit that's brought out at the end of the meal. And who doesn't love a fresh platter of fruit? Well, we love it only if it's really sweet. Lately, we've had some very sweet fruit lately. One of the things that I love is a really crunchy, fresh, sweet Royal Gala apple. Another thing that I really enjoy is what's called Satsuma oranges. And one of my absolute favorites that we usually get from Costco are Cara oranges when they're really in season and really sweet. There's nothing better than a sweet platter of fruit at the end of every meal. Well, I mean, of course, except for coffee and then maybe cake or pie or some other things like that. Well, we have been looking at the 7 I am sayings of Jesus in the Gospel of John. And today we actually come to the last I am saying of Jesus from John chapter 15. In John chapter 15, in verse 1, Jesus says, I am the true vine. And then in verse 5, he says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. You see, Jesus here is saying that if you want life to be abundant, to be fruitful, to be sweet, you must be utterly connected to the source. And that source is Jesus Christ himself. And here in this text, while in John chapter 15, it's really a part of the upper room discourse that comprises of John chapter 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And here in John chapter 15, the disciples are they've left the upper room. They're on the way to the Garden of Gethsemane. And so Jesus is looking around and they're probably passing many vineyards, many olive trees, many other kinds of fruit trees. And so he uses this imagery because every human being wants life abundantly and sweetly. Really, we do. No child ever wakes up someday at the age of 5 or 6 and goes, I want to be a miserable failure, or I want to be a terrible engineer, or I want to be a terrible parent. No. We all want the best. We all want to be good at something. It's true. And Jesus says, abide in me, because a branch can never bear fruit by itself when it's disconnected to the source, disconnected to the vine. See, when we think about the context of this saying, I mean, just back in John chapter 13, when everyone was in the upper room there, Jesus said that someone will betray him. And we now know who that person was, Judas Iscariot. Judas Iscariot was never connected to Jesus. Judas Iscariot wanted to live life his own way and in his own dependency on himself, not on Jesus Christ. So that was not a true connection to the source. That was not true faith. But then we think about another character, even the Apostle Peter, which we now can look and see, wow, Peter, he was utterly dependent upon Jesus to the very end. I mean, in Peter, what do we see? We see in his life obedience to Jesus after the resurrection. We see joys and peace in the ups and downs of life. We see Peter loving one another. We see Peter reaching out and winning other people to Christ. I mean, he had the sweetness of true faith in Jesus Christ, and he had abundant life. Yes, when we talk about abundant life, it's fruit of the Spirit. It's the fruit of being at peace with God. It's the fruit of a forgiving heart. It's the fruit of meekness. It's the fruit of being Christ-like in His humility. And for what purpose is all of this for? Well, I mean, Jesus gives us the answer in verse 8, because in verse 8, Jesus says, "By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, and so prove to be my disciples." Wow. We go to the source. We let sweetness come out of our lives. Why? It's for the glory of God. And in so doing, glorifying God, we prove ourselves, we show ourselves to be true disciples of Jesus Christ. And so this morning we ask, is your life full of that kind of sweetness that can only come from Jesus? Is it? 2 weeks ago, we bought a brand new bag of apples, and I took the first one out, washed it, cleaned it, and took one big bite out of it. And I discovered it was rotten to the core. Ugh! I wanted to bring that bag back to the store to get a refund. It was rotten to the core. But we look at these words of Jesus and we ask ourselves, is your life sweet? Is your life fresh? Is your life full of glory for God? Because if it's rotten to the core, it's not good. We are disconnected. And so we challenge ourselves this morning and we ask ourselves, if we want to improve in our sweetness and in our abundant life and living life to the glory of God, may we stay connected, close, and utterly dependent upon Jesus Christ 24/7. May that be true in your life and my life and all of our lives, so that we might glorify God and attract others into His kingdom. Amen.